I'm Tony Pryor, and I'm a holistic voice coach. And we're here at a healing collective in Houston, Texas, at a meetup entitled Exploring the Power of Voice. And the particular topic we're talking about tonight is singing and speaking from the heart. This is something that is sort of core to what I believe and what I like to talk about. When we talk about singing or speaking from the heart, my belief is, now you can, take what's useful and leave the rest, but my belief is that we need to make an internal journey because the heart yearns for self-expression. The heart yearns to give the gift. But in order for us to allow that to happen, to let the heart out and have its day in the sunshine, we need to make that internal journey and see what we find there. Now, and I recommend that you get support doing that. I do that regularly. I have somebody that's willing to listen to me with delighted attention as I make that internal journey, and then we trade, and then I listen to that person with delighted attention as they make their internal journey. But it's really all about that. And I get surprised all the time what I find. Many things that I never knew were there. Sometimes happiness, sometimes joy, sometimes playfulness, sometimes grief, sometimes pain, sometimes anger. And so when I talk to you about making that internal journey, it doesn't mean it's going to tickle all the time. And we may get surprised what we find, but I guarantee you, if you will make friends with your joy, your happiness, your grief, your pain, your anger, whatever you find there, your anger, your grief, your pain, your happiness, your playfulness, your joy will make friends with you. That's a guarantee. I truly believe that. So when we go inward and externalize that which we find, we bring it into the world, two things happen. First of all, we activate a healing process that is innate to us all. We all have the capacity to heal ourselves. And second of all, when we activate that process, our limitations begin to change. That's why I'm so convinced that singing is a great modality for personal growth, for healing, for development, all kinds of things. And so I've discovered that you can, and I love to teach technique. I love to teach technique, whether it be singing or speaking, but you can master all those things. You can master diction and pacing and breath control and voice support and all that kind of thing, and still not have a satisfactory experience of speaking or singing. Now, my belief is that's because the heart wants out. The heart wants its day in the sun. And so we have to make that internal journey to let that happen. Now, the thing is that if I let you see who I am, I can't do that without vulnerability. I've got to show you who I am and be willing to let the chips fall where they may in terms of whether you like what you see or don't like what you see. So what gets in the way of doing that? What gets in the way of my being vulnerable for my audience? Well, I tell you what it is, it's inhibitions. And one of the reasons that I ask public speaking students to sing is because when we sing, we push against these inhibitions. I truly believe that. Some inhibitions may have come from early hurts. What happens? Life happens. We get shut down, we get embarrassed, we get humiliated, we get wounded, sometimes by well-meaning people and sometimes by not so well-meaning people. And often at an early, and this may be at an age that we may not remember. We have an internal unconscious memory of these sorts of things happening if they were early. And if you go early, that's the most potent healing, is if you go early. But But they're still there. They're still there. So what happens is when things are happening to a little kid that are hurtful, that get shut down, embarrassed, humiliated, shamed, whatever it is, often we make up stories. This is happening to me because I'm bad. This is happening to me because I'm not enough. This is happening to me because the universe is not a friendly place. This is happening to me because there's something wrong with me. And we make up those stories to make sense of what's happening in our world that often blindsides us. So the more we sing, the more expansive we become. And we push against those inhibitions. We encounter those messages. All of a sudden, I'm in front of an audience, and what message do I hear? You're not enough. There's something wrong with you. The universe is not a friendly place. All those kinds of things. Now, these messages usually have an emotional component. Fear, shame, embarrassment, those kinds of things. And I'm going to call that distress. And how I define distress is when something that's happening currently, in present time, reminds us, sometimes unconsciously, of a previous occurrence where we got shamed, shut down, humiliated, hurt, wounded, whatever. And the present uncertainty and anxiety combines with those feelings in the past to make the current situation exponentially more difficult. And all of a sudden, we're in front of an audience and all this is going on. So what happens? When that happens, I get up in front of an audience and I experience that, I become risk averse. Not going to do that again. Not going to let that happen again. Even if they're unconscious things that my subconscious remembers, gradually we become more and more risk averse and our lives get smaller and smaller and smaller. What I love to do is support people in living big. And so it takes work. But what else are we going to do? It takes work to push against the inhibitions that we have. So I'm going to suggest that the only thing that gets in the way of our singing, our speaking, our truth is distress. I think that's the only thing. We can do the technical issues, the breathing, the breath support, the diction, the pacing, all that, we can do that. That is really easy. The hard part is the distress. Now, the good news is that we all have the power to conquer distress by using singing to release negative energy. So when we use singing to find out what those blocks are, and we use singing to conquer those blocks, to live big, to find a place where we can actually live and let the heart out, let the heart have its day in the sun. So just the singing is a contradiction to those negative messages. And the reason I think that is true is because the voice is the place where truth gets spoken and distress gets challenged. People often find there's a ripple effect. So when we challenge distress, when we sing and challenge distress, all of a sudden I find many people that I'm in relationship with, and many of my students say, I'm taking risks in other areas of my life that I never thought, have nothing to do with singing, that I never thought I would take. My job, my career, my relationship, my family, whatever. All of a sudden, I'm taking risk, and I think I got that singing. I think that's what happened. So that's why I call it living your voice. We actually live our voice and let out that part of us that yearns, that must speak its truth. Now, I believe that every one of you is here, really, attracted to this meetup for that reason. Something internally yearns for expression. Something internally wants to have its day in the sun. I don't know what it is, but I think you do. Or if you don't, I encourage you and support you in making that internal journey and letting the heart have its day in the sun. So that's what living your voice is all about. And I think that living your voice can actually be a lifestyle. That we can, through singing, through speaking, through going internally and looking at and exploring the landscape there, and then bringing it up in our song, in our speech, can be a lifestyle, and it can be a healing lifestyle. So I encourage you to join us in that journey.